Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. What is this? So, once in a while, FarmSim makes a great DLC. And sometimes it involves a cool map and like a play set that goes with it. So, like a cow farm with a bunch of cow equipment and mowing tools and stuff. Or, like a new brand of tractors that go along with a farm. But one time a couple years ago, back I think it was 17, they released a Big Bud pack. And I would have to say it probably, well, aside from the expansions, which are the map packs, it was probably their most loved, beloved DLC of all time. And at least for me, that would be until now. Because now we have kind of the same idea, but this time it's done with Versatile and Ford. Obviously, sharing the same platform on some of those older tractors. We get a lot of new equipment, and we'll talk about each of it. We'll walk around and take a look. I've got most of it out. There's a couple things I didn't fit out, but there might only be one or two pieces of equipment that I didn't bring out. But there's just a lot of stuff in this pack, a lot of new stuff, and it's very well done, as always with the giant stuff. And as long as you're playing on, pretty big maps, you're gonna have a lot of fun with this stuff. I mean, if River Bend does not seem like it's big enough for this equipment pack, but if you're playing on like the Arkansas map or some of these Great Plains maps that have been coming out recently, this is where these tractors are really going to come into play. And not only that, but we also have the big, Seed Hawk equipment. We've got a new international truck, some very heavy duty trailers. Not this brand is part of the game. I apologize, that's not part of it. But we've got some like pretty high capacity live bottom trailer for this one for grain and stuff. A really big slurry container. We've got this massive 88 ton or 88 metric whatever square meter Brant auger wagon. It's like the size of my house, bigger than my camper. It's like twice the size of the place where we live now. And then we also have this. I don't even know how you pronounce that, but Inox, Acer Inox, and it's obviously a Canadian company. Pro manure spreader, monster size slurry spreaders. There's one that's a little. There's one. The only one that I don't have out here is the smaller size one. It's the same thing, but it's smaller. So let's take a look around and see what we got at the tractors first, and then we'll come back and look at more of that equipment. But to start off with, we have the Versatile line of tractors. Now, I've been living in the Midwest here for a couple months, like mid-Midwest, and I've seen a lot of these at dealerships, so it's not unheard of to see these now. Definitely this tractor has been there, and I've seen both of these tractors also, these newer ones, this guy. And also, this guy here has also been in the dealerships that I've driven past, both of them, and then also the tracked one I've seen out and about at the dealerships. I haven't seen them in the fields working though, but I've seen them at dealerships. And then we have two vintage models here, 976, and I mean we're talking these are like up to 1100 horsepower. I believe the 1156 is over 1100 horsepower. We can check that in the shop here. Let's take a look at our Great Plains pack here, the Praries and Plains and Prairies pack. So yeah, if I go to this guy, it is 470. I'm way off on that one. How much is this thing when it's full power? This one goes up to 6 something, I think. Yeah, 665, 1200. 600 on this one. Yeah, so yeah. That guy goes up to 400, and this quote unquote small tractor, minimum or the maximum horsepower is 272, which is still a lot of horsepower. A lot of different wheel configurations. You got standards, duals, like narrow duals. Then we can also get some big wheels. There's some wide and medium tires and all kinds of different brands if you like the different looks. So it's pretty neat. These do have like an option to go US style or European style, whichever you want. And you can do front weight. I think this one only has weight on the front. I don't think you can get a front attacher. Yeah. So lots of different options. And then, of course, I think that for a lot of us Americans, the star of the shows, they're going to be the 600 horsepower Fords. How much is the other one? Let's take a look real quick here. The small one is 365. Once again, vintage tractor. Lots of different tire setups. Back then, that was a lot of horsepower. So, manual transmission. Yes, you do hear the shifting when they now simulate the transmission, so you hear the tractor going. 470 on this guy, same as the Versatile, but in Ford blue. And so if you want a Ford tractor, these are really cool. I do like these tractors a lot, and I don't think they have enough horsepower to pull these huge seeders, especially the giant setup here. This guy, I think this is like a 600 minimum requirement, isn't it? Let's take a look. That's a 550, so you'd have to use and 600 on the other. I don't think I bought this cultivator out too either. So neither of these are going to work with any of the older vintage tractors. You'll have to pull out the old quad track Versatile tractor to be able to pull any of that equipment, or Big Bud, obviously the Big Bud mod. Yeah, so you're going to be using this tractor for a lot of that big equipment, or any other 600 plus horsepower tractor. There are other ones in the game. So moving right along, we have a Salford spreader. I believe this spreads manure, if I'm not mistaken, or fertilizer maybe. Let's take a look real quick here. It'll tell us. But it might be solid solid fertilizer. So it's odd because it looks like it's got the arms like a liquid fertilizer spreader, but it spreads solid fertilizer. Manure spreader, we talked about that. We also talked about this. Now here we have a Fendt sprayer. Now here's another thing, another tractor that I've seen recently. I've seen at least 3 of these recently, either spraying or at dealerships. And there's a couple Fendt dealerships around my area now, and so I've seen them at the dealership. And we have 3 different versions of this. It's kind of neat. We have this one that has a spray tank. You can have 2 different tank sizes, like small and large. They're both pretty big, but you can get a bigger tank for it if you want. And this one can have up to a 40-meter boom. It does have several different boom sizes, so there's that. And different tire sizes too. I picked the big tires on this one. But if you come over here, I've got another one picked out. Now this one is the complete opposite. This is a solid fertilizer spreader, and I have the narrow wheels. And this guy, same platform, but with a solid fertilizer. Then, just like our air cart over there, there's an air cart version of this. So we also have our sprayer, and then we have a solid fertilizer, and then we have this solid fertilizer that uses those Air Max arms, the same as our Air Max trailer. So that is pretty cool. And you can pick up two different engine sizes with this. Actually, 4 or 5? What? You're really particular in how many engines you can have. This has 4 different engines. Okay. Anyway, so that is a really neat piece of equipment. And the fact that it's available in different versions, not quite as flexible as, say, the Imperador from Stara, but still a neat device on its own and very flexible. And the fact that you could buy it and then probably pay for all 3 configurations, that would make it worthwhile, most likely, because then you could spread solid and liquid, just depending on what you want to do that year. In fact, let's take a real quick look, because I didn't check. Let's see what exactly it can spread. If it says, so it does herbicide, liquid fertilizer, and solid fertilizer. It does not do lime. Bummer. And neither does the Salford with the Air Max arms. That does not spread lime either. Bummer. Oh well. And we also have this giant, this is one I didn't pull out, but I'm not going to. It's a big cultivator. 18 meters. Requires 600 horsepower. You need Big Bud or something like it. The tempo, how much? Once again, seeders or planters don't seem to need as much. So 365, you could pull this with the Ford. Yeah. Also included in the pack is the I was gonna say the Ford LT. It's the International LT tractor or semi truck, and it comes in a couple different versions with different. I think you can get different motor sizes with it, but for sure you can get different cab setups. Engine setup. Yep. You can run 370, 400, 430, 450, 470, or 515. Comes with the day cab, evening cab, and oh wait, that's the evening cab and the all night long cab. Basically, two beds in that one. You can turn the fancy mirrors on and off. Most of them have them. Sun shield on and off. Different size fuel tanks. Honestly, how far do you drive in Farm Sim? You pick the small tank. Save yourself some money. Fleck paint. Look at the detail in that paint there. That's pretty post 20th century Farm Sim. And but there's the day cab. There's the all night long cab. All right, and we're gonna get in here and you can look around and see. If we sit inside there, you can get upper bed, lower bed. It's almost as big as my camper inside. Oh, and here we have the you should be familiar, if you play Truck Sim at all, you should be familiar with this. Looks almost exactly the same, just not as detailed, but look pretty good looking for Farm Sim. Once again, we'll just get close here. These versatile tractors, little things that I like. Look at the details on the engines. This is stuff that I don't see. You know, some mods have it, but some don't. RP's always dog it on me because I'm always real picky on the mods. This is why, though, because when you get up close to this, look at how gorgeous that looks. It doesn't lose that cool look when you get close. It kind of stays together. Look at the details in the fins and stuff. Stuff like the motor. That's pretty cool. And I think when we turn it on, let's watch it. Fired. Oh, yeah. Sweetness. Well, at least the fan blade is spinning. Does that mean the belt's turning? Maybe. You could pretend. Does the throttle move when we goose it? Nope. You saw it shift gears there. That's what I was talking about. Pretty neat stuff, though. I love details like that. That's the kind of stuff that makes this cool. That jerky Farm Sim I'm loading right now. Look. It's because I'm on a laptop and it's loading the shaders. Ugh, come on, Farm Sim. There's a lot of stuff out here. It's making my performance go down. That just shows you how much is in the pack. Let's see if it does it when I look back here. No, not smoothing out. It just has to load those shaders. But look, this is pretty cool in here. Very sterile cabin, not a whole lot in there. Let's take a look at the Big Bertha. The tractor of tractors. Once again, we have it on here, but it's not in real life big enough to pull that. Different cab. This is cool. Ugh, shaders again. So I wonder if look at that. Look how much it took to. Oh, I didn't realize. I thought I disconnected this, but I disconnected the seed card. So, yeah, that's why it's taking. I'm like, why isn't it speeding up? Well, that's why. All right, let's take a look. Now, at the inside of the Versatile to see if it's the same, because that kind of threw me for a loop that it's actually different inside. I thought they'd be similar. Oh, we still got to look at Big Roy too. We didn't. That's kind of the start of the show, right? Yeah, it's different inside. That's neat. So they have different cabins. Let's talk about this. Big Roy is kind of like Big Boy. In fact, I would say it's like a steam engine, right? It's real long and It is articulated in the center. Nope. I don't know. Like, it's a tractor that was made, I believe, in the 60s, maybe the 70s, but probably the 60s. And it was an attempt to make a huge tractor that would definitely not be great for soil compaction, but to get more horsepower into a tractor. And I think people said they were using it for forestry. I can't verify that because all I've ever seen is footage of it actually working in the fields. So maybe that's true that it really was meant for not farm usage, but for forestry. But I haven't seen any video to back that up, but I haven't looked real hard either. But this is kind of Canada's version of the Big Bud. So, and it is a big tractor, but it's also a lot less horsepower than Big Bud. However, it's the same horsepower as a lot of the regular Big Bud variants. It did have a camera on the back, so maybe it was 70s technology. Anyway, it's just a monster. How many horsepower is Big Roy or Old Roy? Big Roy. He comes in at 600 horsepower, so he technically could pull that seed cart setup and ruin your fields while he's at it, but he could do it. I think it's the back end. I don't think we connect this. No, hang on. Yeah. I don't know. We should put this to use, and I think that's what we're going to do in the next segment here. We're going to go ahead and put some of these tractors out in the field, maybe run a pass with it and see what it can do. So I'm going to get the 600 horsepower cultivator, and we will run a cultivation pass with this somewhere. I'll be right back. All right. We're trying to navigate through town, and this is, with any articulated tractor, this is a challenge. This thing is so big. But the nice thing about it, compared to Big Bud, is it is narrow. So it does, I don't know, it's an interesting design. And we were asked by the farmer to rip up these crops, so we're going to do that. Now, I bet you want me to use GPS, but forget that. We don't have GPS in the 1970s. No, you probably still would use it, but... Yeah, this tractor is literally just enough. So is it a hair awkward? Yes. But it does it. I actually like this tractor. The sounds are great. I love that. Now, isn't that cool? Wow. Something weird with the texture updates in Farm Sim. I don't know if it's just my laptop or... I do like the fact that we have the V marker on the front so that we can line up with our crops and use that as an indicator if we're going straight or not. That's pretty neat. So it's doing a good job. That is the versatile Big Roy in action. I wonder why it has those stadium seats in the back. Look at that. You got enough for two visual observers. Maybe they look out the back and tell you go left or right, like they're there to kind of watch and make sure that you're... Since we're using implements that are huge, is it possible that those guys would tell you, like, hey, you're about to hit this on the left, or you're about to hit that building on the right, like they kind of observe for you? Maybe that's what that whole idea is. I'm not sure. Like it though, I do. I don't know that I'll ever buy this for a farm, but Let's take a look at Big Roy's prices. $219. I mean, honestly, all of these old tractors. The nice thing about them is that you're getting a lot of horsepower for not much money. Almost 500 horsepower on this one for 171 500. So I mean, so for less than $200,000, you're getting a 450 horsepower, 480 horsepower tractor. That's a pretty good deal. So they're vintage, and you're paying less of a price because of that. Whereas this guy that only goes up to 275 is how much with that big motor? With the big motor, 400 horsepower. I'm sorry. So less horsepower, 310. Yeah. So it's a good deal. These old tractors are a good deal. So I like that too. That'll make it probably more likely that they'll end up in one of my videos or video series because they're affordable. They're priced like used tractors. I think that was a good idea on Giant's part. Sometimes they get that stuff right, sometimes they don't. But the pricing is right on these. So I'm curious to how many of you would buy Big Roy. How many of you feel like this is Farm Sim's best DLC yet? I think it's up there. I really like the Kubota DLC too. That was definitely high on my list last time. So that's been a big enjoyment to me. Now they're just in game, but the Kubota DLC was great. The next set, I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever end up using the next set on any of my farms because it's so expensive. And it's really very just specific to giant farms. Whereas this pack I like because we do have a lot of like monster size equipment for monster farms. But you got things like the semi truck that you could use, like these like lower high horsepower tractors. You could definitely use on, some of the mid-size maps too. You don't have to have a monster size field, And then we got a couple smaller versatiles too that we can use for just regular old farms. The sprayers and stuff aren't crazy. Like they get long, but you can get a smaller version too. So I think this is a nice, well-balanced pack. It gives us a lot of new stuff, cool new brands. Though Versatile's been in the game, Ford has not been, aside from mods. So it's nice to get a couple Ford tractors that are actual official tractors in the game for the first time, and hopefully we'll see more of that. But yeah, it's introducing Versatile on a more heavy level because there have been a couple Versatile tractors in the game, but this is like heavy duty. So I give this a double thumbs up. As you guys know, I'm not in love with Giants right now just because of the way I was treated, but I still think that they're making good products, and that's to be commended. So good job for them, and I think it's definitely worth the money. You get a lot of stuff in this DLC. That's one thing that some of the DLCs, it's like, that's not a lot. Like I said, a lot of people passed on the next set that I know because they're like, it's not worth it. But you get a lot of different. I'd be shocked if there was not at least one piece of equipment in here that you'll end up using. There's definitely a bunch of pieces that I'll probably end up with. I love the Fendt sprayer. That gives us something cool and new and a little bit less expensive. But these tractors are definitely going to be going on farms. So, yeah. The Seed Hawk, maybe not. I don't know. But the Fords and stuff, yeah. So is this their best DLC ever? I'd say it comes close to the Big Bud, which I consider probably their best, just straight up DLC. Obviously, the ones that come with maps are a little bit different because you get a lot more content. But for me, this is at the top of the list there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section or comments. If you really enjoy the content, throw me a coffee. It helps our channel stay afloat and helps me pay for my internet, which is sucking right now. But anyway, we'll deal with that. And it keeps the things running, and it keeps my laptop paid and all that good stuff. So anyway, you guys have been doing a great job supporting us. We got some good donations this month that helped us honestly make it through the month. So anyway, I will see you guys soon. Once again, video flow might be a little bit slow as I put a note out for those of you that saw that and haven't or didn't know. I just got a new job in real life, and it's going to be taking up a decent amount of my time, but it's a really good job, and it's a really well-paying job. So you got to trade some things off. Not the end of the channel, but we're definitely going to have to scale back a little bit in order to maintain a normal lifestyle. But in the end, it'll be good because then I can start to afford to put things back together again, hopefully, for the channel, and just do a better job all the way around. So, and not be stressed out all the time because we're broke. Anyway, I love you guys, and we will see you next time. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick look at the tractors that came in the pack and all the different equipment, and we got to put Big Roy to the test and see how he looked in the field. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot of great tractors, and I think this is going to be a great DLC. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye.